I apologized profusely. "It's all right. Tell me gently and with patience." My niece was attempting to talk to me, and I gently encouraged her even though she was about to cry. Well, in actuality, my niece took something out of her pocket and played an audio tape before continuing. This. The voice startled me, and I resented my own ignorance. I was unaware of how terrible and challenging the situation was. The overpowering realization made me cry, and I braced myself for what was to come. Ilara is my name. I am a dedicated career lady who works in an IT company. I'm a lady with a position of responsibility and a salary that allows me to live comfortably. I could live alone, but because my job is near to home and I can work from anywhere, I live with my parents. Because I provide a financial contribution to the home, my parents would rather live with me rather than alone. My elder sister is 2 years older than me. Her lovely husband and their daughter, Alina, used to make her happy. But 3 years ago, her spouse went suddenly due to an illness. When I saw my sister during his burial, she was so tired that I suggested, "Sis, why don't you come back home until things settle down? You must also consider Alina." She declined to return home, saying, "Thank you for being concerned, Kathy, but I'll be fine." She was really insistent about not going back, which at the time confused me a little, but I figured it was because she was independent and didn't want to depend on our parents. She remained a single mother, working and raising her child. I continued to see her often since I knew that the loss of her spouse had put an even greater weight on her. She repeated the same statement every time, assuring me that everything was well. Even though we kept in touch, my sister passed away a year ago from illness. Alina was still in elementary school when we brought her into our house. Since moving in with us, Alina appeared to be really depressed. During her parents' lifetime, she seemed like a happy, active girl to me. She was very animated once. It must have been an unbearable blow to lose both parents so soon. I wanted her vitality back as quickly as possible. My parents would frequently attempt to speak with her, but she would not answer. I proposed we go out together on our days off, but she wasn't into it. I didn't press too hard since I didn't want to push her. After around 3 months, Alina began to cry and apologize to me when my parents weren't there. "I apologize, Ilara. What took place? Were you bothered by anything?" "No, that isn't the case. Anyway, I apologize." She had never sobbed before, so I was shocked. I was astonished to see her cry so quickly. She would not, however, explain why. Instead, she would just cry and apologize. However, she never cried while my parents were there, which piqued my interest. The unexpected increase in the number of travels my parents took a few years ago was another item that baffled me. They could travel on occasion, which was good, but I didn't see how they could support themselves financially on my payments and their pensions. Since I was providing for them, my father had only held the position of manager at a small business and not worked since retiring. My mother had never worked outside the home. She had spent her whole life as a homemaker. I nevertheless ended up handling the majority of the housework. "Dad and Mom, it's okay to travel occasionally, but please save some money. You don't have to inform us of that. We exercise fiscal restraint. We don't have much time left after all these years of hard effort on your behalf. Don't make remarks like that. Then let's have some fun. Please stop interfering with our business." I became frustrated when I attempted to politely propose that they cut costs, but they dismissed me and said they didn't have much time left. Alina always appeared to want to tell me something when they traveled to a vacation, but she never did. I chose to wait until she was ready to talk before pressing her. My father came up to me a few months later looking quite happy. Oh, Elara. Indeed, what's going on? Your mother and I will be traveling abroad for a week soon. How come? A travel abroad? How are you going to pay for it? Just now I advised you to save costs. We made a little money. Where from? Is it significant? Let's make some memories for when we are older. Your mother is correct. Allow us to enjoy this international trip adventure. It's okay, no problem. Despite my suspicions that they were hiding the source of their money, I chose not to investigate more since I believed it to be their money in the end. We're going to go immediately. Organize your affairs at home. I got it. Enjoy a secure journey. My parents enthusiastically departed on the day of their trip, vowing to return with mementos. My niece was standing there, appearing to be about to cry, as I turned to head back to the living room after seeing them leave. I made the decision to ask her what was wrong after deciding that this couldn't go on. Alina, what's wrong? Your grandparents are on their way out of town. Now that it's just the two of us, feel free to talk to me about anything. I apologize. She started crying again and apologized when I asked politely. I didn't know what to do, so I kept encouraging her. Elara, to be honest, she reached into her pocket, pulled out her smartphone, and hit play. My parents' irate shouts dominated the recording that sounded. What's this? My parents' voices could plainly be heard, no matter how I listened. They had never raised their voices to this extent before, though. I was surprised since this was the loudest I had ever heard them yell. Are these Grandpa and Grandma for real? Yes, when my parents were still living, they visited us frequently. Alina started to give an explanation. She said that while my parents were living, they would come to her house a lot and would always be nagging and whining. The objections centered on their dissatisfaction of my sister's marriage and their unreasonable demands for money, which they said was payment for removing their daughter. Hearing that my parents were such individuals astounded me. Alina went on to explain that they would frequently threaten her parents and demand money from them whenever they visited, pretending to be there to see their grandchild. I would retreat to my chamber. It's likely that your parents didn't want their actions to make you afraid. I believe that as well, but their constant yelling at my parents scared me. I observe that had to have been difficult. However, how did you record this? Alina said that she had captured her parents' voices on an old smartphone that she had happened to have with her at the time as a toy. I appreciated that she took this action. I posed another query that had been on my mind. Alina, how frequently were they at your home? I believe it was practically every week. It's unbelievable that they went to my sister's family so frequently without my awareness. Upon further reflection, my sister and her spouse had begun to appear more disheveled each time I saw them. My sister told me they were dieting together when I inquired if she was okay, and I took her statement at face value. But in all honesty, I think what finally wore them down was the stress of my parents' expectations. I felt guilty for not pursuing the true cause. This would not have occurred if I had realized there was a problem earlier. I apologize for not telling you, but I was afraid of what Grandpa and Grandma would do. When Alina started crying once more, I embraced her and felt guilty for not seeing her earlier. Alina, I'll watch out for you from now on. Remain calm. However, what if they also harm you in some way? I'm not a concern for you. They won't defeat me. All right, how about we take them on together? Yes, I won't be afraid if I'm with you. Allow me to assist. I nodded, seeing the resolve in her eyes. We got ready for the week my folks were away. With Alina at my side, I felt even more powerful, so I questioned her further. I thought back to how thrifty my sister and her spouse had been. I had previously heard from my sister that they hardly never carry cash and instead use bank transfers. My parents must have received money from them through transfers if they did. Undoubtedly, some trace would remain. I started rummaging about the home and quickly discovered what I was looking for. I was aware of it. Despite their avarice, they were careless. It was too simple to locate this passbook. I looked through my parents' bank account and verified the sums deposited throughout the time my sister and her spouse were living. This much money is transmitted every month. I see why they had such a modest life. Trembling with rage, I gripped the passbook. In order to learn the whole story of my parents' interactions with my sister and her husband, I made the decision to bring the passbook to a private detective. A few days later, I received a call to work. This is the report on the investigation. I got the investigator's report and started to read. No way, please. The report stated that my brother-in-law had been taking out loans from banks in order to compensate my parents. He eventually got psychologically worn out and was sick, which ultimately caused his death. My rage became even more when I read the report. It came out that my sister had been working herself into the ground in an attempt to pay off the debts owed by my brother-in-law and the ongoing demands for money from my parents. In addition, my parents had been mistreating my niece while I wasn't there, acting as though allowing her to stay with them was a favor. I started crying when I realized this. How awful! How could I have been unaware that this was happening? In addition, we found that your parents even embezzled your brother-in-law's insurance proceeds. You're not serious at all. I looked over the supplemental report. It proved beyond a reasonable doubt that my parents had embezzled my brother-in-law's insurance money. That money must have gone toward their frequent travels. I said my goodbyes to the attorney and left. My niece and I worked on our plan until my parents got back from their trip abroad. Think we can pull this off? Don't worry, we'll practice as much as we need to because we still have time. Okay, I'll try my hardest. We worked over our strategy until Alina was comfortable. We prepared and awaited my parents' return a few days later. Throughout the home, we had placed many cameras to record everything on audio and video for future use as proof. I had, of course, discussed this with my attorney and gotten his agreement. We are at home. Happy to see you again. Did you enjoy yourself? Yes, it was really wonderful. Alina is where? We purchased several mementos. Alina is in her room working on her schoolwork. Why not take a little break from your travels as you must be exhausted? Yes, that does sound good. What about a cup of tea? Okay, I'll manage to make it. Should I succeed? No, I'll take care of it. I prepare your father's tea every time. Okay, I get it. My folks were ecstatic to be back home. Since it was their first international vacation, they had to have had a great time. I spent some time hearing about their vacation experiences. I'm sorry, but I have to go for a little while. A call came in from work. At this hour? It occasionally takes place. I'll return shortly. Be careful. Yes, I will. I pretended to get to work and excused myself when I felt they had calmed down a little. This served as our planned signal. I phoned Alina after I was outside. Hi, Alina. I walked out of the home. I got it. Alina connected our call as she was on her way to my parents. Well, good to see you again. Oh, Alina, we returned with a ton of mementos. All right, thanks, but I have to speak with you. What is it? Raise your voice. Alina played the audio file she had captured after my father's statements. Hi, from whence did you obtain that? Be a nice girl, Alina, and give it to me. The recorded sounds clearly startled and alarmed my parents. I'm going to tell Alara about this. Please don't do that, Almena. Are you aware of the consequences of doing that? However, this is incorrect. You should listen to us because we took you in when you had nowhere else to go. Yes, we wouldn't receive any welfare benefits if it weren't for us. So why do you treat Alara so kindly? My parents were enraged and began scolding Alina. Alina was crying a little bit, but she still spoke tremblingly. She brings money into the house, which is why we are nice to her. That's accurate. We currently have no money since we are surviving off of your father's pension. We'll have problems if Alara goes. That's right. She will always give us money when we need it as long as she is here. She is a handy idiot. That is truly terrible. After learning how much my parents really felt, I made the decision to send Alina back home and stop letting her suffer. I barged into the living room, my temper already at its height. Everything I heard, I raised my voice and burst through the door. Oh, Elora, how much time have you spent here? Regarding employment, what about it? Work doesn't matter to me. I've heard your true thoughts about me. You only consider me to be a housekeeper and a cash cow. Naturally, we are no longer employed. How else are we going to get by on our pension alone? That's accurate. To live, we require your assistance. Instead of refuting it, they blatantly asked for money from me. I felt terrible to think that I would stay in this place for them. I won't give you any more money if that's how you feel. We're heading out together, myself and Alina. Never get in touch with us again. I refuse to permit it. Without you, how will we manage? I am fully informed. I am aware that you embezzled money from my brother-in-law and sister. What topic are you discussing? Did you, Alina? I apologize. I filled Alara in on everything. That's right. We possess all the proof, so cease debating. Alina nodded and left for her room when I ordered her to get her belongings. Alara, are you really saying this? Are you kidding, please? You wouldn't give up on us. I'm not kidding at all. It's unbelievable that you were such horrible individuals. I held Alina's hand and we left the home when she came back with her stuff. We stayed at a hotel close to my place of employment, as I had planned. We didn't spend much time in the hotel, though. I found a new place to live in a matter of days. I got a call from the police a few days after Alina, and I moved into our new house. Really? Is that accurate? I was informed by the police that my parents had been detained for shoplifting. Not at all. I was just gone for a few of days. The money I provided them could not have exhausted so rapidly. In addition, they were receiving assistance payments for looking after Alina. I incidentally went to the police as their guardian with these sentiments. My parents apologized, appearing remorseful. I apologize. We just made an error. I brought my parents back to the house after apologizing to the cops. The water, gas, and electricity had been turned off since there was no money. The house was filthy and in a bad shape. In a few of days, it became evident that my mother had never been adept at cleaning. How did everything end abruptly? Were you really that broke? What's up with this mess, too? Naturally, we have no money. We were content with our retirement. I am no longer able to perform housekeeping. I'm not the youthful person I once was. Our welfare was suspended because you abducted Alina. My pension is insufficient to support me. That's right. We wouldn't have needed to steal if you had continued to give us money. My parents furiously accused me of causing their predicament. I just sighed at their ridiculousness. It's your own fault, this. How many times have I advised you to put money aside? However, you continued to take week-long vacations every few months. Enough of that. Please just hand the cash to us. Cover the cost of the utilities. Here, without them, we could not survive. And hire a cleaning crew. It is not possible to live here. They persisted in requesting money and attributed all of it to me. I was just tired. I wasn't even angry. Okay, so you won't own up to your mistakes. That being said, I'm done. How come? What are we expected to recognize? You refuse to acknowledge your mistakes, I see. All right. This will be my final conversation with you. I'm going to break things off. Keep me off your contact list. I walked out of the home. After a month, the home was deserted. My parents were evicted because the house registered in my name was sold. That detail had slipped their minds. I went to apologize to the neighbors for any problem I may have created after some time had gone. They informed me that loan sharks had been seen, suggesting that my parents had approached them for financial assistance. There was a rumor that they were spotted looking messy at a park. I later obtained a legal separation from my parents and made Alina my adopted daughter. We now have a closer link than most parent-child ones. I was delighted that our lives had settled and that Alina had returned to her happy self. I promised myself that I would keep an eye on her and